What? What is it?
How come you had to tell everyone about my org experience?
Oh, I didn't know it was a secret. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing.
Embarrassing. It looked like you had the moves down cold.
I didn't know you could dance while in an orb experience.
Welcome to another episode of Primetime UGC. This week we've got another guest from Perfect World, as well as some old and some new bits.
The captain also sat down with PWE's community manager Brandon Felczer, otherwise known as PWE Brainflakes, and I'll be bringing you the feature request, bug report, and I'll begin with the news in just a moment. Hi, my name's Phil Bones and you're watching the news on Primetime UGC. After the hype of recent new Foundry players and activity, we are now back in a rut. Bugs and design flaws are being ignored, and Foundry players have sunk to a new low. Stowe has been free to play for long enough to see many new players come and go, and although being free to play has brought some new dedicated Stowe players and a consistent stream of new ones, the Stowe population is starting to dissipate, and most of those that had joined to check out Foundry have found it not to be exactly what they expected. Bugs are also back to going either unnoticed or ignored by devs, although a lot of the issues aren't crucial to gameplay or publishing. To those that are dedicated to Foundry Stowe gameplay, the feeling is that Foundry will not survive without maximizing its efficiency. With all this in mind, Foundry players are down, and without any new elements or assets, we won't be seeing any new revolutionary missions to reboot its popularity. That's not to say it isn't an exciting time for Stowe UGC. A lot of the new authors who came with free-to-play have now learnt to make excellent original polished missions, and more quality playable missions are now being published weekly than ever before. I'm Phil Bones, and thanks for watching the news.
Bugs, 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 horrible, wonderful bugs. For what would I talk about if we had no bugs?
Captain, I'm back from my orb experience and feeling a little weird. Today I'm recording live from the Star Trek Online forums. There is a lot of posts about a lot of issues, a lot of which are very old, such as Space Wander. The value of speed once Wander is enabled is too low, causing very slow NPC movement or sometimes none at all. The only tip I can offer is to set the Wander speed, duration, weight, and distance to max. Deleted maps reappearing. When you delete a map and log off, sometimes 24 hours later, the same map will reappear. This is due to a Stowe Code inbuilt save feature to avoid losing content after logging off. Always save after deleting this reappearing map and it should be gone within the next 2 days. Nasty pop-up bugs. This is usually due to a pop-up being linked to a trigger or before or after a social zone map transition. Some pop-up triggers have no coding to prevent this problem, and social zone map transitions are fickle in keeping objectives on task. Another cause of this might be that your mission has Season 4 coding. In this case, you must go in and resave all your maps after changing one or two of the items within the map. Kirkfat has started a thread requesting we have a bug conference call. This is very much needed at the current time due to Foundry's dissipating players. Conference calls always motivate Foundry usage as it reinforces the love, work, and effort that the devs put into Stowe's UGC tool. Last but not least, Star Trek Online is missing out on a lot of possible publicity due to its demo record. It desperately needs a tweak or two. Many machinima projects are currently on hold till the custom costume can be saved within demo record. That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. I don't really want to go back to that orb. Maybe I should go look at some feature requests. Alright, catch you in a minute, Captain.
In the Federation justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the Starfleet officers who investigate violations, and the silicon-based life forms who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories. So I told my wife, look, if you need a new food replicator, I suggest you replicate a new one. It ain't like I'm on salary. Hey, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. My third ex-wife used to pull that, and I'd give her the "we do this to better ourselves and the rest of humanity" speech. And she bought that line? Nah, that's why she's an ex. She left me for some upwardly mobile Orion. She's a slave these days, but I hear she can replicate a hell of a meatloaf. Benny, look! Geez, Ray, you want to slow down? I downed a swimming pool's worth of scotch since I won that high school track medal. Now what do we have here? Looks like your Vic is one of them Ferengi. Another milestone in deductive reasoning. DNA scans identify him as a guy named Brand, a solicitor. It's gonna be tougher trying to find someone who didn't want to kill this guy. Anyway, there are no apparent wounds of any kind. The medical examiner is en route. We'll know more after he examines the feller. Well, until the ME gets here, I want a portable stasis field set up around the body. I want special attention paid to the Vic's hands for particle traces. I also want his lobes scanned for possible foreign DNA. His ears, Detective? He's Ferengi. I guarantee he's had Umox in the last 24 hours. Call it a hunch. Why, you got something against the man dying with a smile on his face?
Welcome to Feature Request of the Week. Well, the feature request competition was a blowout. However, I will continue to welcome all feature requests via email. That's mailbag@primetimeugc.com. This week's feature request comes from Horiet and Ceridium. Firstly, Ceridium would like to know if it would be a good idea to have the announcement, like the Gaylor announcement, announced when people get a dilithium tip or a certain rating. I think this is a good idea. Although a lot of people do not like the announcements intruding on their gameplay, I think it would be a great way to reinforce Foundry publicity. He would also like to know if Cryptic would be able to put in a tool in Foundry so we can actually respond to the reviews we receive. This is also another brilliant idea. Not an original one, but a good one we should all start thinking about and requesting within the forums. And here are Horiet's top 5 feature requests. Number 1, variables, as mentioned in his interview last week. Number 2, ability to require certain missions be completed before being able to play a Foundry mission for the first time. Number 3, ability to recommend up to 5 other Foundry missions at the end of a mission. Number 4, variable carryover. In a series, authors should be able to allow for variable carryovers. Number 5, allow differences based on player characteristics. all brilliant ideas for feature requests, and if you've got any, make sure you send me an email. Once again, that's mailbag@primetimeugc.com, and I'll catch you next time on Primetime UGC.
Looks like your Vic, Mr. Bran, died of a cerebral hemorrhage. So the lawyer died of natural causes? It's a lucky day. Case closed. You're not that lucky, and neither was he. He's implanted with a micro-explosive device. He never knew what hit him. Well, let's find someone who did. What else do we know? There were traces of tricobalt and serenite diboromide. The perp's original, I'll give him that. Serenite diboromide is a gelatinous chemical agent commonly used to remove scarring on starship hulls, resulting from asteroid strikes. It's rubbed over the scarring and then exposed to mild concentrations of alpha waves. The reaction removes the scarring. To my knowledge, it's never been used in this way. What way is that? As a detonation catalyst. The tricobalt is encapsulated in a very thin metallic membrane, separating it from the serenite. Introduce some alpha waves, and bang! So basically anyone with a device emitting alpha waves could have set off the explosive implant. That's about right, but alpha waves dissipate quickly. The perpetrator would have to be fairly close. So it could have been anyone in that neighborhood. Where do we even begin to look? Step 1, find the motive. Who is Mr. Bran and who'd benefit from his demise? Okay, so as usual, I'm starting my day with Bran. According to a witness, Bran returned to his office at about 16:30 after some slip and fall litigation. It was a Mr. Faz Banaka who also had an office on that floor. Banaka says Bran locked up the office around 16:40 and went out into the street. And then he dropped? That's the funny thing, Captain. Witnesses say he exited the building between 17:07 and 17:12. There's only one flight of stairs between his office door and the street. Well, maybe that Banaka guy is mistaken. Security devices in the hallway back him up.
So where the hell did he go for almost half an hour? Why can't we just catch an easy one now and then? Get out there and take a few scans. Maybe there'll be some kind of transporter trace or residual alpha waves. While you're at it, round up all the surveillance records for the time in question. I want to know this guy's entire history. I mean beyond the advertisements.
Sir?
You mean to tell me you guys didn't recognize your Vic? For compensation, he's your man?
He's that guy? Still doesn't ring a bell.
Are you sure you guys are detectives?
Yes, sir, that's the rumor. This week on Primetime UGC, we have a very special guest. I was fortunate enough to have a conversation with PWE Brandflakes. So welcome, please, Mr. Brandon Felczer of Perfect World. What is your job title and what does your position entail?
All right, so my official job title here at Perfect World is Community Management Specialist. And the reason that it's not just community managers, because I do a lot more than community manage. I'm also responsible for a lot of web content for the game, so all the blog posts you see go up, all the news posts, images getting into the C-store and things like that, the website, not in-game, website. So a lot of that. Of course, I do stuff in the forums. I'm involved in meetings and things like that. And I do reporting to pass along feedback. So when I put in the forums added to my list of feedback, it really is added to a list. And maybe list isn't the right word because it's not just some ever-growing list that they never see. They get it often, daily, weekly. So it's really important, and I really enjoy doing it. But yeah, a lot of web content newsletters you get. So like the newsletter just the other week that talked about the featured episode number 4 coming out and then getting ready for the finale. That's all my writing in there. So I really enjoy writing, and I thought I was really going to miss that when I came here and left massively, but I get to do a lot of it. So yeah.
You put out a lot of things about the Foundry, like you had that Foundry Challenge.
Right. Yes.
What is your interest in the Foundry? I mean, with all the things that you do with the website and all that, you seem to be focused
in on the Foundry.
Yes, I think that the Foundry is something that's really important to the game, and I think that one of my main jobs is to help get it more notice. And personally, that's what I want to do because the Foundry is a tool that I don't think a lot of people know about, and I want to make sure we get the word out about because some of the missions that I've played in there, actually a lot of the missions I've played are amazing. I mean, it's not just tool to go do X, Y, and Z. I mean, people are making elaborate missions and telling some amazing stories that sometimes feels like you're watching an episode of Star Trek more often than not. So I think it's really important. And the reason why I wanted to do the Foundry Challenge was just to kind of continue on the community aspect. So I've been doing, ever since I got here, the literary challenges. I kind of resurrected those after Wishstone left and wanted to keep those going. And those get the creative juices flowing, people writing and things like that. And I thought, you know what? What about getting this into the Foundry? And I know it came up during a past couple interviews of people talking about it. I said, this is an amazing idea. And so, we did our first run through, which was called Conundrum on Ryza. And I gave a background, and we had, I think, about a dozen missions made. And at Mazakin, if I'm pronouncing that right, won 500 STO promotional points for the C-Store. And so everyone ran through the missions and then sent me a PM and voted. So I love the Foundry in the sense where we get to dream up the Star Trek story we've always wanted to tell, and then be able to tell it and share it with all the players.
Will the Foundry Challenge be something that's going to be an ongoing activity? Is this something we'll do like maybe once a month or?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So right now we were running it as 4-week challenges. This was just the first one, and we did 3 weeks to make the mission, and then 1 week to vote. And since this was the first one, obviously there's a lot to build off. There was a lot of great feedback provided on how to do certain things or things that need to be changed, and there was no way to know that beforehand without testing it out for the first time. So what I've decided that we're going to do, I'm still going through all the feedback, and incorporating as much of it that I can. One of the main things that I realized, I think we need a little bit more time to build the missions to give people time if they're on vacation or whatnot. So I think I'm going to extend that to 4 weeks instead of 3 weeks, and then 2 weeks to actually play the missions, because I only gave 1 week to play the mission, and that was about, you'd had to play 1 to 2 episodes, more on the side of 2 episodes a day, to get through all the missions before I'd vote. I asked everyone to kind of play through all the missions, and that's why I kept it to 30 minutes. And that was another thing that players were saying, why just 30 minutes? Well, if we're going to ask players to go through all of them, we need a quick story. And there's some epically long Foundry missions out there. But the reason I kept it to 30, 45 minutes is because that's an average episode of Star Trek. I've seen some 3-hour, 2.5-hour missions, and that's longer than some Star Trek movies,
right.
And because it is a game, you can't just pause it and pick it up later like some of the other missions. I know that I really hope that that's something the team can work on, where if you get to basically a save point, kind of like past missions, but if you're in a 3-hour mission and then something happens and you drop out or your internet goes out at home, you've got to rerun that whole thing, and there's nothing like getting to the middle of a story and then having to start it all over. You have to invest a lot of time into that.
At least you have to go through every transition to get to the point where you left off.
Exactly. So maybe you don't have to read as much, but still. And that's why I really suggest to Foundry offers to break it up into missions. And I know that Daniel Stahl in past interviews has talked about that's something they really want to work on, is being able to string your own arc together, and how much easier would that be is if you could string it together like a featured series or featured episodes that we put out for yourself. So that way you can tell your story over parts and have 2-parter episodes. I'm a big proponent and on the side that missions and episodes should be around 30 to 45 minutes overall, because that's like an episode. Because I think that players start to fall off and they start to lose interest the longer in it gets, and they could be missing out on an amazing story that you've taken months to develop.
All right, and how important do you feel the Foundry is to STO as a whole?
I think it's one of the most critical things about the game right now. I think it needs to have a lot of importance placed on it, and I think that from the past dev interviews we've heard from Dan since he's got back have been really promising. I know that players are always going to be leery of things said. Well, this was happened and this didn't come out, but I can't say what is coming exactly, and I'm not even on that side of the team. but I know that there are some amazing things coming that are really going to help out. And so hopefully we'll be able to see those soon. I mean, the Foundry was developed for, basically for Neverwinter, and Star Trek was kind of that test stage, but not just test, I mean, to be implemented, but it allowed them to build from that. So if you can imagine, kind of like my Foundry challenge, you start out with one and then you're working on the side on all this new stuff coming out for Neverwinter. Imagine once Star Trek can take advantage of all that stuff. It's going to be epic. It's going to be really epic from what I hear. So I'm really excited, and I really hope that we can get that out to you guys soon.
Yeah, I think we all are. We're really dying for it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll ask you a question that wasn't on the list. But,
sure.
How about you? Are you going to make any Foundry missions? Have you played it, play with it around with it yourself? Or?
So I don't know if it's still on there. I don't know if there's been a wipe, but there's got to have been a wipe, I'm pretty sure. But I did make a mission on Tribble when the Foundry was in testing. I mean, it's still in beta. I don't think that's going to be removed forever, but I think it's still in beta, right? Isn't it always Star Trek Online, or the Foundry for Star Trek the Foundry beta for Star Trek Online?
Yeah.
But I did make a mission on Tribble, and that was like back when it first came out. It was horrible. It was so bad. I've got some right brain creativity going on, but when it comes to storytelling, I'm more of I can write more and convey a story, but going in there and building it is what I've found is hard. I wish I could spend more time in there, and it's something that I love playing through the missions because I'm like, well, we've got some amazing authors. I don't need to make any. They're all making it, but I would love to maybe one day see something made that I've kind of thought of, or I'd love to see one day. And everything I state here, I'm not on the Foundry development team, so I have no idea. But one thing I'd really personally like to see is being able to do joint Foundry missions, so multiple people can be working on the same one.
Right.
So I'd love to be able to have someone go in and build it, and then I'm writing out the story, or I can move some of the markers a little bit, or you can have a storyboard where you're kind of like talking about what you want to see here and there. Because I've got some, everyone who's a Star Trek fan has got those episodes in mind where you're like, man, I wish I could actually be in, play that. And now with the Foundry, you can be a part of something. I mean, you can't obviously make the same episode that, that's against the EULA, but you can make something similar. And Star Trek does that all the time. You're like, oh, that happened in the original series. They're just redoing it for the next generation, and it's a little bit different,
Yeah.
So common themes. I would love to see. I would love to be able to do it. I find it challenging for me, but the tutorials that the players have made have really helped me. So.
Oh yeah, I think everybody runs through those tutorials when they're first starting the Foundry. Well, at Starbase UGC, we usually point them to the tutorials first. I think most of us in there have gotten our feel for the Foundry from those. Kirkfat especially is instrumental in doing those.
Yeah, Kirkfat has been an amazing asset to our community with the Foundry, so I can't thank him enough. And you guys have done an awesome job showcasing features that people would like to learn. Like I actually sent in one about the warping sequence. Like how do you make a map disappear, then you go to warp, you have invisible walls, and you taught me that, or Cerberusfilms did, and that was so cool. So I love that people can submit, hey, I want to learn how to do this, and they can go and watch a show and they see it visually, they can pause it as they're making it. So,
well, I think that's all I have. That should do it.
I really appreciate it. I love the Foundry. I mean, I wish I was could be able to build more in there.
Well, it sounds like you don't have the time.
Well, yeah, if I could make more time, it'd be certainly something I would learn, but I'm having a great time playing the missions too. So thanks for your involvement in everything you guys do. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the team and the community. So keep it up.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right, Paul. I'll talk to you soon.
And that was my conversation with Brandon Felczer of Perfect World. Stay tuned. We have Published in Primetime coming up on the other side of this word from our sponsor. All this training, battle drills, and killing works up quite a thirst, and even though we are Jem'Hadar, we occasionally get fatigued, especially when we become honored elders like me. That's why I love Victory Energy Drink. Victory gives you that 26-hour boost that Jem'Hadar over 20 sometimes require. First, and Victory contains half the sugars of other energy drinks. So it's much less filling and won't slow you down. First. What is it, second? Victory is also the only energy drink that contains the isogenic enzyme that every Jem'Hadar needs. That's right. It's brewed from the finest trinucleic fungi this side of the Cabrel system. It keeps me alert so I can keep killing and maiming all day long without tiring. And it's got half the calories of other brands. I am First Ren, and I am tired. And at our age, we are all tired. We drink to reclaim our energy. This we do gladly, because we are Jem'Hadar. And remember, victory is light. Victory is light.
And now it's time for Published in Primetime, where we list all the new missions that have been submitted to us. First up on the Fed side is Stahl by Cerberusfilms, Section 31 Battle Simulation by B. Harris, Crisis on Calypso by Ranger Ryu, The Needs of the Few by Kirkfat, Becoming the Enemy's Friend by Logitech 007, Terror Knocks at the Door, Part 3 of 4 by Admiral Murphy, Diplomatic Disturbances by SM-12905, Battle of Proxima by Neil Cell, Distress at Draylon by Dalemorn, A Tribler Day by Sailor Narn, The Order Part 2, A Hard Place by Timlas. And now the KDF side. The Infiltration by Slock. And finally, Mind Games by Bazag. And that's going to do it for this week's Primetime UGC. If you'd like to see your mission listed here, just send us an email at mailbag@primetimeugc.com. See you in a couple of weeks.